Jason stood, calm and steady, arms raised like a serene lake reflecting the quiet strife of Willow Creek. The tension crackled in the air as the HOA's self-appointed sheriff, Carl, who couldn't tell a real badge from a plastic toy, yelled orders like a barking dog without a leash. Here was my son, a soldier trained for chaos, caught under the weight of an absurdity I had never imagined facing. A man with a gun aiming to enforce community aesthetics. One breath. I could feel every fiber in my being tense as I watched it unfold. This wasn't just a spat over yard decor that would end with a stern warning. No, this was a battlefield cloaked in the shrouds of conformity and archaic rules. Rules that had become weapons against anyone who didn't fit the mold. I wasn't always a quiet man. 30 years spent in the corporate trenches hardened my skin and dulled my senses to the petty conflicts of suburbia. I had come to Willow Creek to escape the clamor of city life, to seek the soft lapping of the stream behind my house as my soundtrack. Little did I know the orchestrated absurdity that lurked beneath the surface of this so-called peaceful community. "Put the weapon down, Carl," I shouted, and just as his head snapped toward me, Jason spoke again, his voice like a whisper carrying the weight of the entire day. "You don't want to do this," he replied. The coolness of his tone was arresting. I sensed the calm behind those words. This was not a game for him. It was a tactical assessment. He had survived hell, and now this ridiculous farce was sponsoring a showdown as absurd as it was riveting. "Stay back. This isn't your fight," Carl shouted, gripping his gun tighter, as if it were a lifeline. The veins on his forehead bulged, a stark contrast to Jason's calm demeanor, the eye of the storm amid the swirling chaos. "The board out of your mind, Carl," I yelled, urgency pressed into every syllable. "Do you really want to escalate this? Is your pride worth your life?" But all logic and reason fell on deaf ears. The threat of an actual conflict loomed large, and in that moment, I realized I was watching a boy about to show a man, who fancied himself a king in a cardboard castle, what true authority looked like. "Step aside, Dad." Jason took a half-step forward, his squared shoulders radiating a silent promise. "I'm trained to handle this." As Carl shook slightly, as if he were teetering on the brink of reason or madness, my heart raced. I knew Jason could dismantle this whole scenario with precision and grace. I also knew that any sudden move could trigger a catastrophe. "Last chance, Carl," Jason warned, his eyes narrowing. "Put the weapon down before you force my hand. I don't want to hurt you." The atmosphere thickened, an invisible fog of tension smothering any sound beyond the pounding of our hearts. Just then, I caught a glimpse of something shiny out of the corner of my eye, a flicker of light that sent my mind spiraling. A drone? Maybe? I wasn't entirely sure. But in that instant, I felt the heat of anticipation welling up inside of me. And that was when everything changed. A voice crackled through the noise, sharper than a knife. "This is your son's phone. You should get to the front gate." The gravelly tone echoed in my mind like warning bells, jarring me into action. I felt the ground shift beneath me as if the earth itself were trying to awaken a dormant fight inside me. A sense of clarity ignited my instincts, and all the fear evaporated, replaced with determination. They wanted control, and it was time to show them what true chaos looked like. "Jason," I breathed, "what's going on?" Before he could answer, Carl's demeanor shifted again, his eyes darting nervously from Jason to me, and then back again. Whatever facade of authority he had clung to was beginning to crack under the realization that he had meddled with forces he could not understand. And in that moment, I saw it. The fading spotlight of power he had wrapped around himself, extinguishing in the face of someone who demanded respect. "Get down," he yelled, voice losing its command as he pointed the gun at Jason once more. And at that moment, the real fight began. Because deep inside, I knew we were no longer just playing against a rogue HOA member. We were up against an entire system ready to do battle, a fragile power structure that needed shattering. The stakes had never been so clear, and we had no choice but to play our cards right, or risk losing everything. As I moved, my mind flooded with memories of the past. Every challenge, every loss, every hard-won victory echoing a sentiment as old as time. When an oppressed individual rises, when the silent awaken, that is when true power shifts and the storms of change begin to sweep through. I looked at Jason, searching for an unspoken plan and finding fierce determination instead. Let's make this count. And the storm approached. The storm approached, and the air crackled with anticipation. I locked eyes with Jason, his focus unwavering. Everything outside of us faded. Carl, the HOA, the stifling suburban norms. In that moment, it was just the two of us against a single, misguided man holding the precipice of a weapon like a drowning man clutching for air. "Drop it, Carl!" I shouted again, my voice rising with desperation. Around us, the quiet fabric of Willow Creek, once my sanctuary, felt ready to shatter like glass. "You think you can scare me?" Carl spat, sweat trickling down his temple, betraying the veneer of authority he struggled to maintain. "You're just a kid. And you're nobody." Jason's calm demeanor never wavered. "You don't want this to escalate. I'm asking you, put the gun down, and we'll talk this out like rational adults." His voice was a steady heartbeat amid the chaos, a reminder that reason could prevail even in a world gone mad. "Rational? You think I'll let you walk away after this? After what you've done to my neighborhood?" Carl roared, stepping closer, his finger twitching dangerously on the trigger. The fear in his eyes was unmistakable, but it was laced with a desperate need for control. As his focus narrowed on Jason, I saw an opportunity, a glimmer of hope flickering in the midst of the tension. "This isn't about the HOA, Carl. This is about you losing grip on something you never had. Control." I took a step forward, feeling the weight of history behind my words. "You think pointing a gun at my son gives you power, but it only reveals your weakness." For an instant, Carl faltered. That flicker of uncertainty was enough for Jason to capitalize. In one fluid motion, Jason sidestepped, creating space between them, and before I could even register what happened next, he lunged. The sound of metal clinking hit my ears as Jason swept out the gun from Carl's trembling grip, using a technique I had only seen in action films. With one swift motion, he had Carl on his knees. "Not a threat," Jason deadpanned, standing tall above Carl, who now faced the ground, humbled and sputtering. "Stop! You can't do this. I was just following orders." Carl whined, desperation tinging his voice, and I felt the anger boiling in the pit of my stomach. "Orders? Whose orders? The board's? What's this really about?" I pressed, my voice cold and unwavering, demanding answers. For a brief moment, Carl looked up at me, eyes wide, filled with a mix of fear and defiance. "You don't understand. They're going to wipe us out, you and your son, if we don't take control. This neighborhood is ours." And there it was, the unraveling thread of his facade, the truth that lay beneath the surface. They weren't just scared of unwanted noise or rambunctious teenagers. They were terrified of change. I shared a glance with Jason, and he nodded almost imperceptibly, as if to say he, too, had seen the cracks in Carl's bravado. I took a deep breath, letting calm wash over me like a tide pulling back from the shore. "Change has to happen, Carl. It's inevitable, but it doesn't have to come at a cost of violence or authoritarianism. We can build this community together, a better one where everyone belongs." Carl's shoulders slumped, the weight of his delusions crashing down. "No, you don't understand. We gave them power, we thought." His voice trailed off, leaving a gaping void. Just then, from the shadows of the trees beside the gate, I heard footsteps approach. My heart raced as I turned, half expecting another HOA hire ready to enforce the twisted rules. But instead, it was my neighbor, Ted, an older gentleman who cut his grass with such precision you'd think he was creating a masterpiece rather than mowing a lawn. "What's going on here?" Ted asked, worry etched in the lines of his face, as he took in the scene. "This man just drew his weapon on my son in an attempt to enforce a policy that's built on lies." I shouted, gesturing at Carl, who was still hunched over, seemingly caught between shame and regret. "This isn't right, Ted," Jason interjected, still standing tall, a statue of resolve. "There's corruption in the HOA, and it's affecting everyone here, not just us." "I had my suspicions," Ted responded slowly, the weight of realization dawning in his expression. "A lot of weird stuff has been happening lately. People under 50 getting fines, notices being sent without clear reasons." As if in a flurry, more neighbors began to emerge, drawn by the shouting, their expressions morphing from curiosity to concern as they surveyed the scene unfolding before them, a gun drawn and the oppressive tension that hung thick in the air. "Neighbors," I called out, raising my voice as the crowd grew. "Listen to me. This neighborhood needs to know what's really been happening. This isn't just about my son and I anymore. It's about our community's future." Suddenly, the heat of confrontation shifted focus. Faces turned from Jason and I to Carl, who now sat like an anchor in the storm surging around him, unraveling. "You will all lose everything," he stuttered, a wave of panic washing over him. "They will come for you, too." "You can't." His voice faltered and shrank into a whisper, weighted by dread. And then, the unexpected happened. A voice broke through the silence, the same gravelly voice from before, ominously chilling. "You think you can tear this neighborhood apart? You have no idea who you're dealing with." I wheeled around to spot a man I had never seen before, standing atop the rise near the entrance to the community, arms crossed, eyes gleaming with calculated malice. A black SUV idled behind him, and my instinct screamed that this man was trouble. "What do you want?" I shouted, fueled by instinctual defense. "I want to help you understand," the man said coolly, surveying the scene before him. "You're stirring up very dangerous waters. But if you're looking to dismantle the HOA, I may have a little interest in you after all." The crowd buzzed with murmurs, suspicion creeping forth. I exchanged a glance with Jason. This wasn't just about us anymore. The stakes rose again, and the storm was no longer just on the horizon. It was here. "You can help?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with disbelief. "And what's in it for you?" The man chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. "Oh, you'll see. But first, we have to deal with Carl." His eyes glinted with a promise, a twist that sent a shiver down my spine. With that, the tides of our battle shifted inexorably. Secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of Willow Creek like a sunken ship, and we were about to either sink or swim together. The storm brewed, but in that chaos, a thought solidified. If we were to fight back against the twisted power structure lurking in the shadows, we needed allies, regardless of how perilous the game had become. Because we weren't just playing for ourselves anymore, we were fighting for a community, and we would either stand together or be taken down one disturbing policy at a time. With that, the air thickened with distrust and intrigue. The man before us, with his sharp suit and piercing gaze, had just thrown a wrench into our plans. Whatever he wanted, I had a sinking feeling it wouldn't end well for us, or for the community we were fighting to protect. "Who are you?" I demanded, taking a cautious step forward, heart pounding in my chest. Jason mirrored my movement, positioning himself protectively at my side. The man smirked, his eyes flicking to Carl still groveling on the ground. "You're either incredibly naive or incredibly bold for someone standing against an HOA running deeper than you realize," he said. "My name is Max. Let's just say I have connections, and I'm here to offer you a deal." "A deal?" I repeated, skepticism dripping from my words. "And what kind of deal would that be?" "I can help you take down the HOA, expose the corruption and deceit that's been festering in this community. But you'll need to play along with my rules." His smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed a little too sharp. "It's a game of chess, and you're currently at a serious disadvantage." I could see Jason clenching his jaw, the muscle twitching slightly. Anger simmered just beneath his calm exterior. "What's your angle?" he snapped, betraying no fear. "What do you get out of this?" Max leaned against the post, a casual stance belied by the intensity of his glare. "Power, of course, and perhaps a bit of entertainment. This place is a relic of suburban ignorance, and I have a taste for demolishing facades." His tone turned playful, even as the threat simmered below. Trust me, you want me on your side, not against you. Behind him, the SUV hummed softly, an ominous presence waiting for orders. It felt like an invitation to a deeper game that I wasn't yet ready to play. But Max was right about one thing. We were at a tipping point. People gathered, eyes darting from Carl to Max, uncertainty etched on every face. Whoever this man was, he had the potential to either shatter our world or piece it back together. What do you want us to do? I asked finally, glancing at Jason for confirmation. Simple, really. I want you to take this man. He pointed at Carl, and turn him into a whistleblower. He knows more than is letting on, and that gun isn't his only weapon. The HOA has dirt everywhere. You'll just need the right leverage. Jason nodded slowly, processing the proposition. So you're asking us to turn him against the board? Bingo. Use fear, promises, whatever works. You need someone inside to corroborate your claims. The more chaos you create in their ranks, the easier you'll tear them apart. I'll provide backup, intelligence, resources, maybe even a bit of muscle. He glanced at Carl, who seemed to realize what was happening, eyes widening in panic. No, you can't. Carl cried out, attempting to scramble away. They won't let me. They'll retaliate. You don't understand. Max chuckled softly, relishing the moment. They might, but if you want to save your skin, you'll help them come crashing down. And right now, you're the perfect pawn. Why should we trust you? I pressed, unwilling to fully engage in this game without knowing the rules. Because, my friend, if you don't, you will be on the losing end of something far worse than a corrupt HOA. You might very well be staring down the barrel of something much bigger, a powerful network that thrives on silence. His smile faded slowly, and with it, the playfulness that had cloaked his menace. A threat that could come knocking at your door while you sleep. The gravity of his words sent a chill through me. I exchanged a glance with Jason, calculating our next move. Sure, Max was manipulative and perhaps dangerous, but if he held the keys to crumbling this oppressive regime around our necks, was it worth playing his game? What's our first move? Jason asked, cutting through the tension. Max's smile returned, and with it came renewed confidence. You need to gather undeniable proof of the corruption. I'll help you with that. There are other residents who have been mistreated. Use their voices. Create a rift. He leaned closer, his voice lowering. And that brings me to you, Carl. You'll need to make a choice. Stand with us, or watch your life unravel. Carl's breath came in short bursts, panic creeping into his features. You have no idea what you're asking me to do. The only choice you have left is whether you want to be a pawn in their game or mine. Max shot back, his gaze unyielding. With dread pooling in my stomach, I knew we were stepping into a maelstrom. But anything was better than the status quo, where power twisted and crushed anyone who dared to live differently. The thought of staying quiet while the community around us crumbled beneath the weight of greedy deception felt like a betrayal. This is your chance, Carl, I said firmly, honing in on the glimmer of humanity left in him. You can't hide behind them anymore. They'll throw you away once you cease to serve their purpose. Help us, and maybe you can redeem yourself. He looked at me, uncertainty swirling in his eyes, a man caught in the web of consequences he helped weave. You think I can just walk away from this? No, Jason replied, his voice steady. But you can choose your next steps wisely, starting with turning information against those who exploit you. A tense silence enveloped us, thick with the weight of decisions waiting to be made. The hum of the SUV became palpable, as if it knew the impending storm would be more than just a blow against the HOA. In that moment, I realized the internecine battle brewing was only the beginning. And there, within the heart of Willow Creek, where grass grew without care and faces turned away from the truth, the fight was just starting, and the stakes had never been higher. With the clock ticking, the determiner of outcomes now rested in our hands. An alliance reshaped, a neighborhood ignited. And if we played our cards right, Carl wouldn't just be a pawn in this game. He could become the king who turned the tide in our favor. But with Max's cryptic motives looming large, the risk felt impossibly great, and betrayal was only a heartbeat away. The remnants of trust would either strengthen us or unravel entirely, shadowed by the looming chaos we were now set to unleash upon the pristine facade of Willow Creek. As the tension in the air thickened, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing at the precipice of something monumental. We had an opportunity to change our community, but amidst the swirling chaos, the threat of betrayal lingered like a shadow. Max's sharp features glimmered with ambition as he assessed us, the gears of his mind whirring with possibilities. "Tonight, you'll need to prepare," he said, suppressing a grin that felt more like a promise of pandemonium than a plan. "Gather your allies. Connect with those who have suffered under the HOA's iron grip. Cut out the truths, and I'll be waiting in the wings to help you make the revelations public." My heart raced at the magnitude of his proposal. "When do we confront the HOA?" Jason asked, a tinge of impatience in his voice. "Sooner than you think," Max replied cryptically. "Keep Carl close. He'll provide the details you need, whether he wants to or not." The unease swelling in my stomach urged me to weigh our next steps carefully. "What if we need you, Max? What if things spiral out of control?" He chuckled, the sound echoing through the heavy silence. "You won't need me for long. Once the dominoes start to fall, it's all up to you. Create chaos. Revealing the hidden truths is rarely a tidy affair. Remember, danger dances hand in hand with opportunity." With that, he slid back into the shadows, leaving us to contemplate the precarious path we were about to tread. Carl hesitated, shifting his weight uncomfortably as the reality of his situation settled deeper. "I don't know if I can do this," he stammered, the weight of guilt draping over him. "They know everything about me. I'm not the one with the answers, at least none that can help." "Yet you're the only one who knows how they operate," I insisted, hoping to light a spark of resolve within him. "Help us expose them. Share what you know." Jason stepped forward, his unwavering voice a beacon in the distressing fog. "If you're willing to take a leap of faith, Carl, you could redeem your mistakes. We can work together. You can help each other." The energy in Carl flickered. I could see the struggle behind his weary eyes, teetering between stagnation and change. "This was never the plan," he murmured reflexively, but the hesitation grew softer as glimmers of conviction began to surface. "Maybe now it can be," Jason urged, determination igniting a light of hope. Asterisk asterisk, "We'll do this together." Asterisk asterisk. With the night growing darker, we returned to our homes, forming a plan that would weave in the threads of our neighbors, those who had been silenced. I could feel the pulse of Willow Creek beating beneath us, alive with the restless energy of impending change. Each door we knocked on opened to more stories of underhanded dealings and deceit, revealing the true depth of the HOA's tyranny. The next day, as the sun crowned the sky, I felt a surge of electricity coursing through the veins of our community. Billy, the retired teacher, held onto a vintage camera, ready to capture what would unfold. Susan, whose lively garden had been ripped apart in the name of order, armed herself with pamphlets detailing the abuses of the HOA. From behind the scenes, Max sent in resources, information, documents, anything we could use to unearth the twisted reality beneath the board's polished exterior. As night descended, we'd gathered at the center of the neighborhood park, under the flickering lights that swayed in the evening breeze. The air buzzed with whispers, the anticipation palpable as our neighbors huddled together, each person a tightly woven piece of fabric in this unraveling tapestry. "Tonight," I began, addressing the crowd, "we rise against the oppressors who have taken our community, our very lives, and twisted them into something unrecognizable." I could see Carl's hands trembling beside me, but his gaze sparkled with newfound conviction, and for the first time, he nodded. He was with us. Together. we'll reveal what's been hidden for far too long. Jason continued, energizing the crowd. Cries of agreement echoed, mingling with the rustle of the autumn leaves which danced in our shared resolve. As we shared our stories, the weight of silence began to lift, exposing the layers of deceit that had kept us bound. The thrill of defiance ignited the air. Our collective voices melded into an anthem for change. But just as we reached the peak of our rally, the shadow of the black SUV slithered into view, bringing with it a refined presence. Max arrived, a predatory glint in his eye. "You've rallied well," he called out, his words both an acknowledgement and a warning. "But it's time we take this to the next level." "What do you mean?" I asked, an uneasy fire igniting in my chest. "Chaos," he replied succinctly, glancing towards Carl with a glimmer of challenge in his gaze. "It's what we've been cultivating. There's no room for half measures. You must be ready for the storm that follows now that wolves are closing in." And just like that, the atmosphere altered. Unbeknownst to us, the HOA was watching, and we were standing at the precipice of something much larger, something they had kept veiled under layers of control. "I've arranged a little diversion," Max announced, a seed of mischief igniting in the shadows of his voice. "An endgame that'll force their hand." Before anyone could respond, violent bursts illuminated the night sky, fireworks erupting from seemingly nowhere, blasting off in brilliant colors against the midnight canvas. Confusion and awe swept through the crowd. It was a spectacle, but also a deafening distraction. "Go, now!" Max barked as sirens wailed in the distance, the HOA's forces deploying to tame the unfolding chaos. "What did you do?" I rushed to Max, realizing he had set us on a collision course we hadn't anticipated. "Just making sure this community is ready for war," he said with a smirk. Then he turned to Carl. "Your past misdemeanors come with privileges, my friend. You're going to need every ounce of courage tonight." As chaos etched itself into the fabric of Willow Creek, Carl tore through the crowd, ready to confront the HOA's forces, fueled by something purer than fear: redemption, the chance to weave his narrative into the broader tapestry of our fight. But as the moments unfolded, from the glare of confronting voices to the sirens growing louder amid the cacophony, a reveal erupted in the air, a crack in the ground between us. Carl, once a May pawn, infiltrated the heart of the crowd, and there, in the shifting tides of rage, he uncovered a crucial truth. His confidant within the HOA, a loggerhead opponent playing twisted games, would unveil every dirty secret to us. The world tilted as we faced the reality. The moment morphed into an exhilarating proclamation that would echo through time. "Trust is a fragile thing," Carl bellowed, eyes wild. "And you all believe in a castle built on sand." In a whirlwind of illumination, our resolve crystallized. No longer were we scattered individuals battling a monolithic force. No, we became a powerful collective, ready to turn every thread of deceit into a rope that would bind our oppressors. As the fireworks painted the night, a storm was brewing, a brilliant symphony of resistance every bit as fierce as the chaos Max had summoned. We were no longer afraid. We had become the storm. And it hit me then, resonating like a resounding anthem. Asterisk, asterisk, some battles ignite because of our greatest fears, while others blaze because of our daring hope. Asterisk, asterisk. As we surged forward, the rising tide of courage crashing against the pit of oppression, I knew this was not just our fight. It would transform our community and define us forever, a memory forever etched in living history, where the storm became the catalyst for change. And this was only the beginning.